Hey, this is David Mazouz from Gotham, and you're listening to the Man Cave Chronicles podcast.
Welcome to another episode of the Man Cave Chronicles.
Welcome to the party, pal!
You're my boy, Blue!
Yo, Adrian!
A podcast with interviews of amazing guests from the world of pop culture.
Oh, yeah!
TV.
Nice!
Movies.
Oh, I love the movies!
Comedy and more. From deep inside the Man Cave, your host, Elias.
David, welcome to the cave.
Thank you so much for having me.
Man, I wish
Dark
this
down here.
I wish this was the Bat Cave. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
So how are things with you, man? What's new?
Not much. I'm in school right now, and kind of living the life of a normal 18-year-old, which is nice.
Well, that's great. That's great. Now you've already finished filming Gotham, and we'll definitely talk about that. And the listeners know you from that. You've been a very busy kid, man.
I don't know if I'm very busy, but yeah, I've been I've had my share of restless nights. Yeah, the past 5 years have kind of been somewhat of a whirlwind, and I have no gauge on it yet. I think I need a little more distance to really understand like what it was, what the past 5 years were even. But yeah, I mean, I'm immensely grateful.
But like I said, you've been busy. You've had several guest roles on various TV shows, and you were on The Foxes That Touch. You were nominated, and now you play Bruce Wayne on Gotham.
Yeah.
So I want the listeners to get to know you a little bit more. You're from California, right?
Yeah, I'm from LA. The show shot in New York. The Gotham shot in New York. So it's funny because Touch, you brought up Touch. Touch shot, the first season shot in Culver Studios, which is probably around a 7 to 8 minute drive from my house. And then the second season shot in Fox Studios, which is probably a 4 to 5 minute drive from my house.
Oh, wow.
So I was very, very spoiled. If I had a 7 a.m. Call time, I would wake up around 6:50 when I was 11, and that was my swag. Instead, now, I went from that to being on a show that shoots 3,000 miles from my house. So it was hard to kind of be bi-coastal as a 13-year-old and have long periods of time where I'm away from my sister and my dad and my school and my house and my dogs and my friends.
Yeah.
And it took a really long time to kind of readjust to that. I would probably say that I wasn't really fully comfortable like calling New York home, even though I spent the majority of my time there. I spent 9 months of the year there, and then the 3-month hiatus back in LA. But I wasn't really comfortable calling New York home until maybe the end of season 3, probably more like the beginning of season 4. So it was a tough transition, but like I said, I mean, I loved working.
Yeah.
Whenever I was working, I was over the moon. So, and especially on something like Gotham, it was such an awesome experience. I'm so grateful that it's something that I have in my back pocket for the rest of my life.
Oh yeah, I mean, we'll definitely talk about Gotham. So, so you were raised in California. How was it growing up in California?
I love California. I missed it very much when I was in New York. I miss that's one of the things I miss. I mean, the weather's kind of obvious, cliche, whatever.
Yeah.
That's true. I'm not saying that like I didn't miss the weather. I did miss the weather, but one of the things that I really missed was the seamlessness of being able just to get in your car and go wherever you're going, and even if there's traffic. I feel like in New York, it's always a production to figure out how to get to where you're going the fastest way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I mean, how is California traffic compared to New York traffic?
Okay, so here's the thing. California, is notorious for, especially LA, it's notorious for its bad traffic. But that's only because at 8 a.m. you look on the 405 and it's eight lane highway and it's fully jammed. It looks like a parking lot. So people are like, obviously going to see that and be like, wow, LA has terrible traffic. But the thing about New York's traffic is that in the city, you have tons and tons of little tiny windy roads that fit barely more than one car in width, but yet there's 2 cars parked on either side of you and another oncoming car going the opposite direction. You somehow have to squeeze, and just like there's so much traffic in New York City. I really don't know why LA gets all the bad rep for that. probably has to do with our pollution problems, but yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of California. I was very happy to come back to California. This is definitely where I belong. This is my state.
There you go. So before we jumped on the air, we said that you were half Greek and you're half French also, correct?
Yes, I am half French. My dad was born in Tunisia, so I'm kind of half Tunisian, but he grew up in France, so I do have family in France.
Yeah. Your mom's Greek, correct?
Yeah, my mom's parents are both Greek. My mom, they moved to LA a year before having my mom. So my mom was actually born in LA, but she's fully Greek.
Wow.
Both her parents are Greek.
Yeah. How much of do you know a lot about like your Greek heritage and everything? Since I'm Greek too, so we can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I know a fair amount of my Greek heritage. I know that my grandpa, my mom's dad, was from Thessaloniki,
okay.
I think, which is in the north, and my mom's mom was from Larissa, in the south. Yeah.
Have you been to Greece?
The basics. Yeah, I've been 4 times.
Nice. Do you are you fluent in Greek?
Not at all.
Not at all.
The only language that I speak is English. Okay, I'll tell you the words that I know.
Yeah.
I know spiti. I know psomi. I know nero. I know. I definitely know more. Okay, here's the thing. I know yasu. I know like the basics. Like when I'm there, like it all comes back to me. I pick up like the basics, and I can hold a basic, very very basic conversation in Greek.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I haven't been there in over a year, which is now. Last time I went was last summer.
Yeah. Well, I was impressed the way you pronounced the cities and everything. So I figured maybe you're more fluent. But I mean, even that's good. I'm trying to teach my kids to someday. I want to take them to Greece also. So I want them to learn some words in Greek.
Yeah. You should. How old are they?
My daughter is 4 and my son is still a baby. He's 18 months.
Oh, good. Yeah, definitely. If I'm speaking from experience, I'm very mad at my mom for not teaching me Greek when I was younger. Just talk to them in Greek. Just make them only communicate with you in Greek so that they have to learn it. They'll be so thankful that they know another language, especially Greek, because Greek is a very cool language to know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like a.
So growing up in California as a kid, would you consider yourself still a kid at 18?
I'm definitely still a kid. I mean, I'm looking forward to being an adult, but I under no circumstances call myself an adult now. I mean, I still
So what do you
go to school?
Growing up, what did you enjoy doing?
I'm still growing up. But I enjoy. What do I enjoy doing? I mean, acting is taking up a lot of my time, especially over the last 5 years since I've been on Gotham. Doing school, and because I go to fairly rigorous high school, so doing school and which is a full-time job on its own, and doing working 10-hour days on set, which is obviously also a full-time job on its own, has taken up a lot of my time. So it has not really allowed me to do many other extracurricular hobbies, but I mean, I'm very involved in some charities like Best Friends and Pet Partners, who Best Friends helps. They have an animal sanctuary in Utah. The Best Friends Animal Society. They do everything they can to help all kinds of homeless animals, not even just cats and dogs, but all kinds of animals you can imagine. They're really an amazing organization. I really like one of my hobbies. One of my passions, I would say, is hip hop. I just really love it. It's kind of inexplicable. I could go on an entire rant about why I love it and why it's the best genre out there. I'll spare you that. But it's one of my favorite things. Yeah, matter like passion, which is just it's just my happy place. Is adult animation.
Oh,
Can't get enough of adult animation. Like, I've seen every episode of South Park and Family Guy at least 3 or 4 times.
I used to really be into South Park when it first came out. I used to watch it all the time. Now, even that.
I love South Park.
Like that and Family Guy.
Yeah.
So you were a kid. How did you know you wanted to be an actor? What pursued you?
How did I know I wanted to be an actor? Well, okay, so it's kind of an interesting story. I'll give you this. I'll give you the short version. But basically, I was with my sister. I was about 5, and my sister was 3 years older than me. She was 8. And I was with me and my sister, my mom, and my aunt, and my 2 cousins, and who were both boys, and they're 2 years apart in between my sister and I. And a lady approached. We were at the mall, and a lady approached them, the 2 boys, and asked if they were twins, and just as a hook, I guess. They obviously were not twins, but she asked if they were twins, and then she said, like, oh, she gave them her card and said, I work for the company that trains Zach and Cody, and those words falling on the ears of a 5-year-old boy, I was like, oh my God, Zach and Cody, that was my life. So I was super, super excited, and I was like, no way, what is this? But my sister was really excited, even though she didn't even approach us at all. It turned out to be a scammy kind of thing. She just wanted classes, but my sister got in her head that she wanted to take acting classes, and my mom's a therapist in LA, so she has a lot of clients in the business. And eventually, after my sister gave my mom the silent treatment for a week, my mom did not want us taking acting classes. My mom was like, finally, fine. So she found some classes from some of her clients. She got a list of some classes, and we went to one that we absolutely loved after we tried out a couple, and went there every single Sunday for 3 hours. We missed birthday parties for it. We loved it. It was our favorite thing ever. It was, but at the same time, it was like a hobby. It was nothing more than a hobby. It was like somebody doing karate every Sunday. Like, you do karate every Sunday, you don't expect to be Jackie Chan. It's just something that you like doing. My point is, I never thought ever in a million years it would become a career. Yeah. Then at one of the we did a couple different classes, and then at one of the classes, up at the very end, there was a showcase for commercial agents, and my current commercial agent saw me at that showcase, asked if I would audition for him. I did. He signed me. I was about 7 at this point, and I did commercial auditions for about a year. My mindset then was, all right, maybe I'll do a couple commercials to get some money for college. I, again, still never thought anything would come of it. And then about a year later, he referred me to my theatrical agent when I was about 8, and then I started doing theatrical auditions, and everything kind of just took off from there.
Yeah. Do you? So you said you started off with commercials. Do you remember your first commercial?
I do remember my first commercial. My first commercial was a German Chevrolet commercial.
Really?
And it was a really good commercial too. It was really funny. I was barely in it. I was doing what was it? I was like playing with a car. It was like, oh, I remember what it was. It was great. So it starts out on like this really kind of pristine, looks like an old-fashioned kind of wedding from like the 17th century, and everyone's really like dressed up really, really nicely. And then all of a sudden, this red truck Chevrolet just comes in the middle of nowhere and starts like rolling through things and just crashing into things. And eventually, you realize that this isn't actually like a massive wedding or celebration or whatever's happening, and it's just like a doll set, and the red Chevy is just like a toy car that someone's playing with, and that was me playing with it, and I was like knocking over my sister's dolls, in the backyard, like by a pool, and like my mom like tells me to stop. But it was a great commercial. It was really funny, and it was fun to do. I don't, to be honest, I'm like notorious in my family for having a terrible, terrible memory. I cannot remember anything in detail or most things at all before the age of like 9. So I was like 7 when I did my first commercial. So I don't really remember like that day, but I remember that I remember I had a good time. I remember I enjoyed myself.
Yeah. So like I mentioned earlier, you've been on numerous like cameos on different TV shows and everything. What's one of your favorites that you've been on?
I think one of my favorite guest stars, probably my favorite guest star, would be The Office. It was so much fun to do. Like just like working with Rainn Wilson. I mean, just in general, like I did not realize at the time how cool it was to be on The Office. Yeah. Like now, I swear I get recognized for being at Burt, California almost as often as I get recognized for being Bruce Wayne. And I was only in one episode, but it was so much fun, and the people there were so ridiculously nice, and it was just such good vibes all around. And also one of the things that I loved about it was that such a good percentage of that show is improv. So it really, really stretches your not just comedic abilities, but acting abilities, your abilities to really live as another person and not just repeat lines. And as an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old, I think I was at the time, that's a really valuable lesson just starting out in the business, just starting out doing this. I did not realize, I did not have that skill set at all. Yeah, I still don't really. I mean, I never really did any kind of improv seriously after that. But I worked on that for about a week, and it was really intense. And I remember I was always really nervous, but I always felt super, super comfortable and supported because everybody around me was so nice and supportive and just funny, just really great energy to work off of when you're in that space. And yeah, it was just a really great experience. And it was the Halloween episode, so like everyone had really cool costumes on, and it was just fun. I just had a really good time.
Do you what was your first TV show that you appeared on? Or your first gig?
My first gig was a movie that ended up on TNT, directed by Eduardo Ponti, with Rhys Darby and Sasha Alexander, called Coming and Going. I was only in one scene. I was Timmy. I was 8 when I booked it.
Okay.
And I was so Rhys Darby was the main character, and he played a doctor, I think, of some sort, and he had a woman in his waiting room. And I was that woman's son, and I was just super annoying. And I was like, and she was like, my mom was not, reprimanding me at all with what I was doing. But basically, what I was doing, all I remember is I was supposed to, in the scene, kick Rhys Darby in the shin, right? And I didn't realize, I was 8. I didn't realize that he had a shin guard on, and so I just kept kicking him, usually in the same place, and it was fine. I remember thinking I'm surprised I'm allowed to just kick this guy. I'm surprised he's just taking it, but I guess that's acting. I didn't really know. And then one time I kicked him particularly hard, and it felt harder than normal. And I realized I missed the shin guard because I didn't know it was there. I wasn't aiming for it at all. And he just he fell on the floor in pain.
Wow.
And I felt really bad. But yeah, that was my first day ever on a theatrical job.
So, how's your time on The Touch? I know it was a short series; it didn't last that long. But how was it for you?
It was amazing. I think I came out of Touch. I mean, I know I did. I came out of Touch a way, 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 way better actor than I was going into it. It was the first time that I'd ever gotten such regular practice. I suppose practice makes perfect. It's cliche for a reason. It's true. Yeah, I mean, I being able to work 5, sometimes 6 days a week regularly like that for 6 months, back to back for 2 seasons was an amazing gift. I think, I feel like that's what kind of defined who I was as an actor. Because also that was obviously my most visible role up until that point. And and also because I was so young, I think I was so impressionable, and the lessons that I learned, I was around the best people, really, really experienced, really hardworking, really dedicated, passionate people who care about what they're doing. And having Kiefer there, also Kiefer Sutherland, played my dad in that, Martin Baum, he taught me so many things, and he'd always talk to me and point things out, and it was just such an educational experience, as well as being an experience that I had a blast on every single day, because it really was a second family.
Yeah.
That crew still is they still are the people that I'm most comfortable around.
Oh, that's nice. So now Gotham, Bruce Wayne. I mean that has to be exciting. How many people can say they played Bruce Wayne?
I think 8.
And you're one of you are one of them.
I'm one of them.
So
kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I have a lot of questions about Batman and Gotham, and of course for the show and for you. So, how were you approached for that role? Tell us about the audition.
Okay, so the audition, I started auditioning right before Christmas break in December. I was 12, so it must have been 2013. And right at the very end of 2013. And I remember I auditioned for the first time with an 104-degree fever.
Wow.
And then I didn't hear anything for 2 weeks because it was Christmas break. So I was like on the edge. I was like, I wonder how I did for 2 weeks. And then they brought me back for maybe 6 callbacks, and like 3 of them were within the same week. Like I'd go in for a test, and they'd call me back that night. All right, they want to test you again against some other kids. Come back tomorrow dressed in this. And it was tough. It was very nerve-wracking. It was a very, very long, strenuous, and nerve-wracking audition process. But months and months later, it was official. I think it was official like right around my birthday, I think, in February. So yeah, it took about like 3 or 4 months to do the entire audition process. But then yeah, eventually it was official. I was super pumped. I was super excited, super happy.
Yeah. Did you know? Did you know you were auditioning for Bruce Wayne? Because I know like sometimes you go to auditions and you don't know.
It was the same scene.
Okay.
It was the same scene for all of the auditions, and it was not Bruce Wayne related at all. I forget what my character's name was, but didn't even start with a B.
Wow.
And I was talking to my therapist. Like the scene was, I was talking to my therapist. My older brother had recently died, and my therapist was asking me, "Can you tell me a story about a happy memory that you have with your brother?" And I go into this whole monologue about how me and my brother were sitting. Me and my brother and my parents were camping out somewhere, and me and my brother climbed a tree, and an eagle landed on the branch that we were sitting on. And it was a majestic experience, and it was one of the best days of my life. And it was really, really well written. I'm sure it was written by Danny or Bruno. I knew that I was auditioning for Bruce Wayne only not because it said it anywhere on the sides or there was a description of the character of Bruce Wayne anywhere on the sides, only because my agents knew, and they told me. So I didn't know, but I do know also that a lot of the cast members didn't know that. I think Sean and Cameron, I think Cameron knew she was auditioning for Sleep. I don't think Sean knew he was auditioning for Alfred until like much later on in the process. Wow. And yeah, I didn't see any of the script. I had no idea what it was about. I mean, obviously I knew generally that it was about an origin story to Batman and about Bruce Wayne growing up, and I was told that Commissioner Gordon would have a large presence on the show, but that's about it. I had no idea what other characters were in it, and I didn't know a lot about Batman either. Batman has always been my favorite superhero, mainly just because how could you not see Christian Bale as an 8-year-old and like idolize that for the rest of your life?
Yeah.
But I always loved Batman. But yeah, when I was 13, I knew very, very little about him. And when I got the role, I did a ton of research, read every comic book I could get my hands on, watched every movie, watched the Adam West TV show, watched the animated series. I did everything. But ultimately, I kind of like the way that they approached it, because if I had known, like if it was very clear that it was Bruce Wayne, there was sides from the script, I would have done research. I would have like looked at videos of Christian Bale and tried to imitate that. But I kind of just did my own thing. I kind of just interpreted the words as they're written on the page as I would have done that on any other audition. And then because, they hired me, that kind of meant that, okay, that was the interpretation that they were looking for. So that's just kind of what I stuck with for the rest of the show. Obviously, with all that research came some minor tweaks and changes and things that I thought were more suited for Bruce Wayne specifically. But for the most part, yeah, it was kind of just my initial interpretation of that mock dummy sides of the game. Yeah. And like I said, they were really well written, so I think they knew exactly what they wanted. They just wanted to see who would read it that way.
So you mentioned you did your research and you watched, of course, the Batmans with Bale, but did you enjoy the ones with Michael Keaton also?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I enjoy them all. How could you not?
Yeah.
They're also different, and that's something that's like
correct.
I think so defining for the Batman canon. Like that's not really true for any other canon that I know.
Yeah.
Even outside of the superhero world, like any kind of mythos is very usually kind of follows the same tone, at least in general. But Batman is so widely changed with every incarnation of him. Just look at Adam West and Christian Bale back to back. Like you find it's very hard to believe that's the same character.
Yeah.
But that's the thing about Batman because I was just saying, if you think about it, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I was just saying, if you think about it, the story is ridiculous. It's about a guy who dresses up as a bat, trying to stop all crime in his city, and his his biggest arch nemesis is a clown.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of, his sidekick wears booty shorts.
Yeah, you're right. The Adam West. Yeah. So, how does it feel being in the same group with all those actors that played Bruce Wayne?
Different ways. In time, why it's so campy in certain versions. It seems like the animated series and Adam West. But at the same time, there are some real valuable lessons that come with Batman. I think that's one of the things about Batman that's attracted me so much is that he's a couple things, but he's not perfect. He's a very, very flawed human being, and his strength comes from his flaws. And I think that message is very real. It's very genuine. It's very raw, and that's why it's also very easily translatable into something that's much more serious, like the Christopher Nolan movies.
Yeah.
And then you have something that's and I think Gotham has found it went through patches of kind of being in both directions, but I think it found a really nice happy medium in the middle where there are some really serious moments that are driven by human kind of connection. But there also are some really ridiculous moments that are kind of to bring out the fun and the ridiculousness and the absurdity of this canon.
It's an interesting way to put it, but yeah, you're right. So we mentioned all those people that have played Bruce Wayne. How does it feel being in that same group with them?
Whenever I get this question, I never really know how to respond because it just depends on the day. Sometimes somebody will tell me do you realize you're on this really, really short list? And I'll think about it, really think about it, and I just kind of am speechless in my shock. I feel so honored and I feel so grateful, and I feel like it's just not true. There's no, I just feel like it's there's no way that's that's me. It doesn't make sense. I can't that's not possible. And then I'll kind of think about it for a while and yeah, it's not that big a deal. And then it'll just hit me again. How crazy it is. It is insane. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it is insane. That's my feeling on it. I'm kind of still 5 years later in a lot of shock.
Yeah. So there's 2 episodes left of Gotham. Without, we're not going to spoil the rest of the 2 episodes, but how would you describe now, your relationship as Bruce with Jeremiah for this season?
It's really interesting. I mean, it's developing into kind of the perfect. I mean, obviously, the story is ultimately an origin story to what we already know from the canon, and I think the way that they set up Bruce and Jeremiah's relationship this season, and the way it's developed this season, the way it will continue to develop this season, is kind of perfectly setting up the Batman-Joker relationship that we know. As we've seen, Jeremiah is obsessed with whole ideology is that he wanted to be Bruce's best friend. Bruce didn't want to be his best friend because he murdered a lot of his friends, understandably. So he wouldn't want to be his best friend. And so Jeremiah's kind of reasoning was, all right, well, I think this is a line from the show. If we can't be bonded by love, we'll be bonded by hate. I will make you care about me. Jeremiah just does not want Bruce to be indifferent towards him. He wants him to care about him. He has this kind of sick obsession with Bruce. And so, and I think that's kind of the perfect way to categorize their relationship as Batman and the Joker.
Yeah.
You look at the Joker. Neither of them ever kill each other. Neither of them ever love. Neither of them ever end the fight because they have this weird obsession with the fight itself, with the struggle. It's kind of a really common theme in the comics. Batman obviously can't kill the Joker because that's against his morals, and the Joker doesn't want to kill Batman because the Joker, just like Jeremiah, has this weird obsession with him, and he likes fighting Batman. He likes defeating Batman, but he doesn't ever want the fight to be over. He never wants to fully defeat him. He wants to just pick him and tease at him and destroy him slowly internally. I think it's a really, really cool idea, and that's kind of what we're setting up with Jeremiah and Bruce.
Yeah. So after 5 seasons, how would you describe your Bruce's relationship with Gordon also?
It's gone through a lot of rocky turns. I remember we had a really heavy episode together at the beginning of season 4, and in our first episode in season 3 we had maybe 2 scenes with each other the entire season. And it was just one of those things where I was like, wow, and I didn't really realize that until we had worked together like seriously again, a year and a half later. And I think that was on purpose. The writers really wanted to kind of create this separation, because season 3 was when Bruce really started his journey into becoming somewhat of a threat physically.
Yeah.
And it's really when he started to start his transformation into not only an adult, but into the first 2 seasons he was more greedy, the victim. In season 3, he becomes much more active, and he becomes somebody who's a real player in the Gotham game. And Gordon was away for all of that, so it was really, I think that was intentional, so that they create this space between the 2 characters, that he doesn't really know what's going on with Bruce. He doesn't really know that this transformation is happening, and I think Bruce never really fully lets him in. There's always these little secrets that he's hiding from him, and it's kind of in that season where he kind of starts to solidify his core group of people that he's going to trust, which really comes down to just Alfred and Lucius Fox. And I think going into the last season, Gordon has finally accepted Bruce as a partner. That was a huge kind of conflict in season 4, because Bruce comes in, he's back, and he's from seeing Gordon for a while, and he thinks he knows what to do because he doesn't know what to do, but Gordon remembers him as a little boy whose parents got shot down in an alley, who's helpless, and who's a victim, not necessarily somebody who can help them in that situation. And Bruce says, no, trust me, I can do this. And I think season 4, Gordon struggles with that the entire season, and then season 5, he finally kind of lets him in and says, okay, I will. We're kind of in a desperate situation. We need all the hands we can get, and yeah, Bruce, I do trust you. Which is a really big moment for them. And that's kind of around season 4. And then obviously that's when Play gets to when Bruce puts on the mask. He's going to do the same thing, essentially. He's going to give Gordon that gift of, I do trust you also.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite scene that you were in the 5 seasons of Gotham?
Favorite scene? That's really tough. I have probably a favorite scene like every season, but I think definitely favorite scene to shoot, favorite scene that was most transformative for my character, or any of the above.
Whichever one you want to share with us is fine.
Okay. There's so many favorite scenes. There's so many good moments on the show. I would say I think probably my favorite scene of the entire show was in season 3, episode 14, when Bruce and Alfred, at the end of the episode, it's the episode when Jerome kidnaps Bruce and takes him to the circus, and Bruce gets out of Jerome's trap and defeats him and punches his face off and all of that. It's a really fun episode. Yeah, I know that's probably one of my favorite episodes too. But there's a scene at the end in the kitchen when Alfred is stitching Bruce up, and it's a really quiet scene, and just the 2 of them talking. And it's when Bruce vows that he will never kill, he will never cross that line, because he didn't cross that line. He didn't kill Jerome, and he will never do that. And I think just the building up to that scene, and that scene itself was so transformative for Bruce's relationship with Alfred, and it was such a well-written, well-directed, having Sean there, by my side was amazing, and he was so, supportive, and I feed off of Sean, and I think, we get into a room because we work so intimately with each other, and I think this kind of honestly happened right away. We just kind of clicked, and I think you can really see that chemistry on screen. But when I work with Sean, he'll do something that'll kind of surprise me and take that he didn't do previously, and it'll inspire me to do something that I didn't plan at all, something completely spontaneous. And it's amazing. It's such a thrilling feeling to be working with Sean, because I feel so comfortable, and I just feel like I'm doing my job the very, very best that I can, because I'm just always so inspired by him and by what he does in front of the camera.
He's a great Alfred.
So, he is a fantastic Alfred. I think he's probably my favorite Alfred. But But anyway, I mean, yeah. So all of that together, is was kind of made that scene for me. And then obviously, like the content of this scene, because that's a defining moment for Bruce's legacy in terms of the canon, in terms of becoming Batman.
Now I know the writers and the producers have said that it's not going to be you, but your face will be wearing the Batsuit at the probably the last episode, I assume. How did it feel like seeing that when you saw it on the back end of it?
I've been told by many people that I can say very, very little about the last episode and my involvement in the last episode. All I will say is that I haven't seen the final version. Obviously, I don't see it until it airs.
Okay.
I'm really, really excited to see it, and it was really fun to do. What I was involved in was really cool and really exciting.
So I do notice on your Instagram, everything you do your little share of Comic Cons and stuff like that. How is it meeting the fans of those of the cons?
It's amazing. I love meeting the fans. I mean, that's why we do the show, right? So like when I get to meet the people who actually watch the show and appreciate the show, it's so nice to be able to hear their feedback, to hear what they like and don't like, and it's why I do it, just to see the people who are actually appreciating my work. It inspires me to do my very best whenever I'm, back in front of the camera.
Yeah. Do you have any more Comic-Con appearances that are coming up for you after the show ends?
Yeah, I think I'm doing Empire State in next weekend, which is in Albany, and I know I have one in Peru in May.
Oh wow!
So that's some cool ones coming up. Yeah.
Yeah. So the show is ending. What's your plan after this? Just taking some time off, concentrate on school.
Right now, yeah. I mean, I'm still auditioning for things. I'd love to do something before I go to college next fall. But yeah, I mean, college is kind of my next big project.
Yeah. Have you decided where you're going to college yet?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. What are you gonna? Go ahead.
I'm going to Stanford. I'm probably going to major in economics.
Oh wow. Oh, that's great. It's always good to have something while you're doing the acting, also.
Yeah.
So on your when you're not in school and you're not acting, what do you do for fun?
Hang out with my friends, walk my dogs,
Yeah.
just chill. Yeah, that's my favorite thing. I love just chilling.
So, is there any TV shows that you enjoy watching, or any movies recently that you've watched that you've enjoyed?
Yeah, I'm a huge TV show. I consume TV very much. Let's just think. I mean, I told you before, I love adult animation. Yeah. I'm super excited for Game of Thrones to come back. I cannot wait for Game of Thrones. What are we at? Like 9 more days. I'm so excited. What else? I love. I'm trying to think of movies. I haven't watched a lot of movies recently, though. I've kind of been starting. I just watched Psycho for the first time by Hitchcock, which was really cool. I'm taking the film class in school, and we're doing a Hitchcock unit right now. So I'm gonna watch The Birds next, and we watched Rear Window. I think this class has really made me appreciate the directing side of movies to a whole other level, and I'd love to do that one day as well. I'd love to direct and possibly produce and write. Yeah. As well as act. I love acting. But I'd love to kind of branch out in the entertainment industry. If that's where
the future takes
my path is supposed to go. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Is there any other projects that you are working on while you're now that Gotham is ending that you can plug away?
There are some things in the works. Nothing set yet, so nothing that I can fully talk about.
Yeah.
But a couple of things that should shoot this summer.
That's
nice.
Yeah. And lastly, how can the listeners find you on social media?
So I mainly use my Instagram, which is David, David, so like David, A Mazouz, and the A stands for Albert. A lot of people ask me why is your name Davida? No, it just stands for Albert. Albert's my middle name. So yeah, David Mazouz, and my Twitter is at real David Mazouz, and my Facebook, which I very rarely go on, is just my name, David Mazouz.
Right.
But yeah, my social media.
All right. I want to thank you for coming on, man. This was fun.
Thank you so much for having me.